me at that time, then it is live. And I'm placing this as a maximum of 30 minutes, but I've invited people to submit their questions or comments during the course of this event if you want clarity or me to go more in depth on any of the issues that I'm going to talk about. So let's have a look at the shitty news page over here at Google. Let's see. Obama applauds nomination of new Iraqi PM as quote-unquote step forward. Well, of course, this entire operation in Iraq being a big fucking mess from the very beginning, Obama has simply facilitated the further erosion of the country by not really supporting Maliki, because Maliki was not the guy that they originally wanted to be running the basic smash and grab, which is Iraq. So this is no big surprise. One other thing that's rather interesting today, Robin Williams was found dead, 63 years old, apparently died of suicide. Now, it's interesting to me that he would commit suicide if, in fact, that turns out to be the case. That's the way it looks right now. I was never a big fan of Robin Williams. You know, I kind of liked Mork and Mindy, and I remember him from those days, but I just never really liked him as an actor, and I just didn't really care for his comedy all that much. So it's no big deal to me, but of course he was a big cultural figure, so you know, it's not crazy that a lot of people would be upset by his passing. Another thing that I wanted to talk about here is this business in Missouri. And you have this another instance of aggressive police brutality where apparently, I'm going to say apparently right now because there are a couple different versions of events of what took place with the killing of this unarmed teenager in Ferguson, Missouri. And the issue here is, you know, if the police were acting in a fashion that they have shown a propensity to do before by murdering people, choking people to death in New York, beating the living shit out of people on the sides of highways, and apparently shooting an unarmed kid, okay, which I'm going to wait to hear more of the details of this, you know, as it's going to be investigated by the FBI. Not that that means anything, because the FBI is full of fucking liars too, who all they do is cover their own ass. And, you know, if you pay them enough money, I suppose they'll cover your fucking ass too. And I've said this before to the police, to all policemen, all police personnel in this country. I said before, from that point on, I'm not giving any of you a free pass anymore. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? If you are a good cop, and there are plenty of them, if you are a good cop and you stand by and let this shit happen by these motherfucking psychopaths who have on a uniform that supposedly gives them the authority to do whatever the fuck they want, and I'm not having any of it anymore. You understand? So if you, as a good cop, as a quote-unquote good cop, and I'm saying there are a lot of good cops out there, all right? If you are a good cop and you see an officer choking someone to fucking death or beating the living shit out of someone on the side of a fucking road and you don't do anything about it, then you're just as bad as the motherfucking that is doing the goddamn shit. And that's just the bottom line, end of fucking discussion. So I don't want to hear any more about good cops, because if they're good cops, they need to step up and stop this kind of activity by the so-called bad cops. Okay? So as far as I'm concerned, you're all on notice. You're all on notice. Okay? So there was another thing here in the news about Kevin Ward. Apparently, during the course of a race, Kevin Ward, got out of his vehicle after he, I guess, thought that Tony Stewart had actually pushed him off to the side of the track. And I watched a brief video clip that showed the actual accident where Tony Stewart hit him. And there is a pronounced swerve in the car, but I'm thinking by the way he was standing, that could be explained as after he hit him, that maybe the wheel got lodged in his leg and caused the vehicle to swerve to the right, so it looked like he was trying to hit him or whatever. I don't know whether this was intentional or not. I mean, that's, you know, what is supposed to be determined by, you know, the justice system in this country, which of course is anything but. Unless you have money. If you have money, it's justice because you can buy your way out of anything. And all you have to do is look at these ridiculous defenses that people are mounting, saying that, oh, I'm too rich. I'm too rich to know the difference. I was given everything in my life. So I don't understand that there are people that have feelings and dreams and ideas. Because I'm rich and never have to deal with any of this kind of shit. Fuck you, motherfuckers. I'm sick of you. I'm sick of you. So I want to look a little more deeply at what's going on here, also with the immigration so-called crisis in this country. All right. Now this is a topic that I've been wanting to discuss for a while, but it hasn't really presented a good opportunity to me to bring it up because, quite frankly, there's no crisis. I mean, these kids have been coming here for years. This has been going on for years, all right? And the deal of it is, excuse me, the deal of it is that this has been noted in some media outlets as far back as 2003, that thousands of people, thousands of children, specifically, were coming from Central America and south of the border in general to the United States. Now, there's a lot of talk about who's responsible and why doesn't Obama do something and why doesn't the Republicans do something, and all they ever do is end up fucking each other, and that's all they ever want to do. They just want to make the other guy look bad. And that's the problem that I have with the media in general. You have Fox News that all they do is talk about how communist Obama is, okay? They'll never look at their own fucking GOP motherfucking radical jackasses, okay? They will never critique them motherfuckers whenever they fail to deliver on their motherfucking promises. Because you know that as much as every progressive there is out there is deeply bitter at the GOP and their intransigence, okay? There are many Republicans, I'm sure, a vast number of them, who are equally disgusted by the fucking filth that occupies the Congress as their so-called representatives. But, of course, you know, none of these motherfuckers are going to end up going anywhere. They're going to end up being reelected, even though everybody fucking hates them. And that's got to tell you something. It either got to tell you that the people in this fucking country are so goddamn stupid that they're never, ever, 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 no matter what the fuck happens, no matter what is done to them, they're never, ever, ever going to get pissed off and do something about it. Ever. Ever. They just don't give a shit. Or the entire democratic process, and I mean every single aspect of it, is completely contrived and controlled. Plain and simple. There's no such thing as elections. People are selected for office well before they even come into the public eye. So I'm not buying that shit either. Okay? So let's get one thing straight. When we're talking about immigration here, this is not a crisis, okay? This is something that has been going on for years, for over a decade at least, okay? It just so happens that the numbers are higher now, okay? And what would we expect over the period of time? If people were coming here, they would continue to do so. And if some of them were getting in, then that would encourage others to come. And of course, because we, and I say we, talking about United States Incorporated, okay? Not the people here, the administration, the corporate governance that we have in this fucking country makes all the rules and decides exactly what happens, okay? So they decide what is to be done and what is not to be done, okay? You have no fucking input. Nobody gives a shit what you have to say about anything. Nothing. Nothing. Nobody gives a shit at all about anything you have to say. It's simple as that. So it's not a crisis. This is based on a law that the fact that these kids can come here and stay is based on a law that was passed by George W. Bush, the asshole, motherfucking warmonger murderer who occupied the office of president before the current warmonger murderer jackass who is in there now. Okay, so you can't blame Obama for not deporting these people, because if he did deport them, he would be going against the law that was passed under George Bush. Okay, now in regards to immigration in general, okay, I don't see any problem with immigration in general. Okay, and as far as children go, I think you need to be a little bit more compassionate towards them. If in fact they are coming from a region that is gang-filled and violence-filled and their lives are in danger and all these other things are happening, then the idea that they should be forced to go back there and have to live in that environment, okay, is tantamount to a death sentence in some regards, okay? So, or at least a life of total misery and abject poverty. Now, that being said, I'm not in favor of a single immigrant coming to this country, okay, until the problems in this country have been resolved. And that goes the same for any money that we give to other people, that we'd like to give to other people, other countries, you know, like the $3 billion that we give to Israel so that they could commit genocide against the Palestinians, okay, which is basically what it is. Because, and this is not a fringe idea either, you know, actual real news outlets are actually talking about the possibility that Israel is committing genocide against the Palestinians. So I'm not making this shit up, you understand. I'm not making it up. Okay, some other people are not talking about this. You know, they're not bringing this issue up because of Israel's domination of the political process in this country through AIPAC and through all of the other things that they have intertwined in this issue. And mind you, I know there are always going to be people out there who are going to be just chomping at the bit to throw out the anti-Semitic business simply because you dare to question the actions of a nation, for fuck's sake. We're talking about a nation here committing fucking atrocities. So back to immigration. Now, if it's a matter of these people coming here and getting benefits and being able to have some kind of life, that's fine. That's fine. But I think that the focus of this country should be on the actual people that live here, the citizens that we have now. Are there children in this country that are starving? Yes. Okay. Are there children in violence-filled communities in this country? Yes. Are there children that exhibit all of the other signs that all of these children, migrants, have? And I would say yes to that as well. Okay, so I think we need to solve the problems in this country before we try to solve the entirety of the immigration problem. Okay? Now, as for border security, you know, if we look at the idea that we actually lived within a country that actually had leaders that actually decided to do things, they could and would do something to stop the influx of illegal aliens through the southern border, or through the northern border for that matter, okay? Because I'm sure some people come into the United States through Canada. So there shouldn't just be an emphasis down there, although that's where most of them are coming from. So what is the final idea here? The final idea is that we can certainly accept new people into this country, especially young people, because then they'll be growing up in our society. They'll become accustomed to our so-called American corporate experience and be better suited to fit within this community. You understand? So that is one thing. But I gotta say, until we get a handle on the problems that we have here at home, helping the people that need help here in this country, before we start doing things to help people elsewhere, okay? Now, that goes again back to foreign policy, where we look at what's going on with Syria, what we did to Libya, what we tried to do to Egypt, what we've tried to do in half a dozen other countries in the Middle East and Africa, and that is the destabilization process. And when I first started to hear about this influx of child migrants, I thought this might be the beginning of the destabilization of the United States, because we have to go at some point, okay? We have to go at some point, okay? So, you know, I don't know if that's going to happen now. And the reason why I don't, and the reason why I'm leaning away from that idea, is because we still have more war to carry out. And because we're the engine of destruction in this global catastrophe that we call humanity, okay, where nobody exhibits any humanity towards anybody else, okay, where people walk down the street and see people like half dead, bleeding all over the place, and run away as fast as they can so they can't be involved, where people have no compassion or empathy for anybody or anything, okay, where this libertarian idea of this pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, and it's your own fucking fault if you ain't a fucking billionaire like all the billionaires are. It's your own fucking fault. Never mind the fact that almost all of those people started out with big inheritances because they come from money, okay? Very few entrepreneurs. Very few entrepreneurs, okay? There are some self-made people, but that's not the rule generally. There's a lot of old money in this country, okay? So this sort of Ayn Randian libertarian notion of rugged individualism and I can do whatever I need to do and all this kind of stuff, and all I need to do is get the government off my back, and boy, I sure don't want to be paying no taxes. You know, it boils down to a selfish philosophy in my view. Libertarianism is a fake philosophy that is built around trying to justify selfishness. That is my opinion. It's an opinion, okay? If you want to disagree with that, you can do so, okay? There are tenets of libertarian ideology that I agree with, okay? But to encapsulate all of it within a strict philosophical position, okay, that is held to by these people is just ludicrous, because there's a vast swath of it that I would throw out because it is just unworkable, okay? Just like Austrian economics, which is one of the key points of all of these libertarians, is Austrian economics, which is nothing but fucking, it's a pseudoscience. They don't rely on numbers, they don't rely on statistics or nothing. They just, I guess, just make shit up and say this is the way it would work if it was like this. And then they make up a scenario that never exists, like a free market, which does not exist, never did exist, and never fucking will exist. Okay? There's no such thing. You need to get it out of your fucking head. All right? So I think immigration is fine. okay, as long as it's done legally. And I don't see any problem with new people coming into this country to add to the labor force of the future, all right? Because let's face it, we do have declining populations here in this country. Less people are being born, less new babies, etc. You know, populations in places around the world are in decline, okay? So if you want to have a vibrant workforce in the future to continue doing all of the things that need to be done in this country, then immigration has to be accepted. I mean, that's just a simple thing. Okay, so I don't have any problem with that. But going back to the idea of border security, which I only touched on briefly, if we had real leaders, it would be done. And the fact that it's not being done is because that's the way they want it to be. There always has to be a crisis to come up after the last crisis, because that's all we ever do anymore is fucking lurch from one fucking disaster or crisis to the fucking next one. That's all we do, is we limp from crisis to crisis to crisis. And the only thing that you can ever hear being talked about in the media or amongst these political motherfuckers is them cutting down each other rather than turning the mirror on them fucking selves and saying, hey, you know, I'm a progressive. I look at Obama and I see someone who's like Ronald Reagan, who fucking sold the presidency to fucking Wall Street and fucking bailed on every goddamn motherfucking promise that he made when he ran for office, which is not surprising because they all do that. Okay, so I'm not singling him out. George Bush was a total waste of fucking space, an asshole, all right, a warmonger, murderer, okay? Dick Cheney, the Darth Vader, if you will, total fucking shitbag who needs to be fucking in jail, okay? So there is no leadership in this country. That is clear. Congress has abdicated all of its responsibility. The president has apparently decided to just pretty much go on vacation for the rest of his term in office, since that's what he's mostly doing, traveling around, giving speeches and whatnot. Now, he did order new airstrikes in Iraq against ISIS. And, of course, they're having an election there, and, you know, there's a great deal of turmoil. Now, personally, I would have rather had it that we never did anything in Iraq in the first place. And that includes all the way back to Gulf War I, okay? Because if there's one thing, if there was one thing that if I could like magically wave my magic wand and change one thing as of right now, it would be to stop the fucking slaughter. Stop the slaughter. For God's sake, can we stop waging fucking war? How hard is it to grasp the fucking concept? Hey, how about no more fucking war? How about if I got a problem with you, I come and talk to you? How about no more fucking genocide against the people in Palestine? Okay? You don't want to talk to this group because they're blah, blah, blah. And they don't want to talk to you because you're yada, yada, yada. Well, fuck you. There was a time when diplomacy meant something in this fucking country. Okay? Well, that was before when we were a country. If we ever were a country. And not a giant fucking corporation. Okay? So, you know, the end result of all of this is going to eventually be the destruction of this country. You understand? It's only a question. The only question is exactly what is going to be left in the aftermath. Is it going to be a civil war? Is it going to be a gradual breakdown? Is it just going to be a slow decline into rust-filled cities and total deterioration of our infrastructure because nobody is willing to do the hard things? And you know what the hard things are now? That's getting some of the wealth that has been stolen and ripped off by the financial elites and the uber rich, the 1/10 of 1%. that have the vast majority of all the wealth in the entire fucking world, and apparently are not happy with that because they continue to commit fraud and steal and do everything as illegal and improper as they need to get more money. So at what point do you reach financial fucking security, you motherfucking dirtbags? If you have $50 billion right now, how much more do you need before you can say, well, gee, maybe I could pay my workers a little bit more now that I have $50 fucking billion? Or, maybe as a Walmart executive, for example, I could decide to raise the wage of my workers, and instead of making $16 billion a year, I only make $10 billion a year. Can you survive on $10 fucking billion a year? If you dish out another $6 billion, approximately $6 billion, $6 to $7 billion is actually the rough estimate that I worked out just by doing some rough calculations on the back of a piece of paper. An additional $6 billion to pay every hourly employee at Walmart full-time wages at $15 an hour. That would cost $6 billion a year. In addition, well, that's $6 billion total. Okay, that doesn't include the amount that they already pay in salaries. You understand? So you'd have to subtract. You'd have to subtract the difference. There's a I don't have the calculations in front of me, but the point that I was trying to make is that at what point do they reach that quiescence where they're happy, where they've finally decided that they've had enough, that you know, everything is good. You know, I can survive. I have my $50 billion. I can buy everything that I could possibly need for the rest of my life, leave money to my kids and to my grandkids and everything else. But they never ever do it. They never reach that satiety, okay? They never do. And that's the problem. Fuck them. The hard choices now are scraping and pulling and yanking all of the wealth back from all of these motherfuckers that stole it over the last, I don't even know how many decades, but with increased rapidity and at a huge rate over the last 10 years for sure. Okay, and since 2007, enormous amounts of wealth have been transferred. Okay, and that's the basic bottom line. So that's it for me. Now, I'm going to have a look at my comments here, the comments that have been posted on the video here, and see if anybody has any questions here. And I'm going to look at Facebook Messenger. If you want to ask a question or ask me to clarify something, you can hit me up on Facebook, Ted Torbich, and send me a message there. But make it quick because I'm going to be shutting down here very quickly. Let's see. Any more questions here? Oh, that's good. So Chenna3 says maybe Tony Stewart has the Ebola. I actually wanted to comment on Ebola, so I'm glad you brought that up, Chenna3. I think this is being. I think that the controversy over bringing those doctors here is being a little bit blown out of proportion. From what I understand about Ebola, it's a little bit more difficult to get than, you know, some easier to contract diseases. That being said, it is a horrifying thing, and I do have serious questions about the. I have serious questions about the what do you call it, quarantine that these people were kept in during transit, because apparently one of the doctors who actually had Ebola walked out of the ambulance, walked like around in front of the hospital before he went in, apparently walked through the hospital. So there is some evidence that, you know, the virus can survive on some water droplets or something during the course of a sneeze or a cough or something like this. Excuse me, it's a possibility, I suppose. But I'm not a epidemiologist, so I can't tell you. But yeah, it's worrisome. It's enough to keep an eye on, but I think it's being a little bit blown out of proportion. But, you know, I'm one of those conspiracy people that think they probably already have a cure for Ebola, and they probably already have a weaponized form of Ebola, and all of this kind of stuff, because that's what you know, that's what your tax dollars go to pay for, and what the corporate bigwigs are into, so they can make more money, because they never have enough. Somebody wants to know who's really funding ISIS. Well, that's Liza Jean Williams, or Liza Jean Williams. Who's really funding ISIS? Well, let's put it this way: al-Baghdadi, who's the guy who's in charge. Okay, he comes out of U.S. custody. Okay, so how are you ever going to be released from U.S. custody? Okay, you're either going to be released from U.S. custody so that you can work for the U.S. as a double agent, and you're turned, or you are sent on some particular mission. So as far as I'm concerned, the same forces who are driving this global destabilization process, that would be the United States and the UK, are the ones that are funding ISIS to some degree. But it is also true that in the course of their activities, they have gathered a massive amount of equipment, and they have stolen that. They robbed a bank and got a lot of gold from there. And of course, they're also going to get funding from Saudi Arabia and Qatar and some of these other small sultanates and emirates and what have you in the Middle East, who are barely hanging on to power. Okay, Wisdom Trek wants to know, how can a lying sack of shit like Obama even exist? Said seriously. Well, it's because he was crafted. He was crafted. When you look at some of the earlier videos of him, especially when he was in college, there was one in particular. This is one of the so-called revelations that Andrew Breitbart was going to come up with. This video showing him giving a talk at a rally, and you could see already that he was well versed in neuro-linguistic programming and all these sorts of things. So these people are actually caricatures. So how does Obama exist? He exists because he was created. That's the bottom line. Okay, so let's see what else we got here. So yeah, we're funding them, and also Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and some of those other smaller emirates there in the Middle East. Let's see. Yes, Mindbender 223 agrees on Palestine. The average age there is 17 years old. A bunch of kids in an open-air prison, and that's exactly what it is. Everything is controlled going in and out. That's a prison, okay? Simple as that. Well, the BRICS. I talked about the BRICS Bank. Croatan Forge asked me about the BRICS. I wish they would get started already. And I wish they would start pouring some money in there and start giving money out, for God's sake. Okay, they need to get rolling. They need to get this thing off the ground. Okay, if we need anything, we need something to come up against the Western money establishment. Okay, and part of what's going on in Ukraine with Russia and the West there has to do with the hegemony of the Western dollar structure. Okay, so I like the BRICS. I think we need it. They need to get off the fucking floor and get their asses moving. Let's see. James Cox asked, how do you stop the fraud? The lobbyists going and bribing politicians to pass laws for them so that they benefit, and middle and lower class can't get started because they're at that many laws, rules, and et cetera, et cetera. Well, of course, you can't stop it because there's no willingness to do anything about it. You understand? There are a lot of people out here in this country that hate the way the system is, that wish that things could get done, for fuck's sake. Everybody wants things to get fucking done, okay? Everybody wants their fucking bridge to be fixed. Everybody wants their motherfucking road not to have giant fucking potholes in it and fucking hillsides caving in and fucking buildings collapsing and everything else. Everybody wants that. We need a new power grid in this fucking country. We could have a massive New Deal program in this country today, and it could be funded by the Federal Reserve and their creation of credit. And I don't care what anybody says about the Federal Reserve. They make up money and print it out of thin air. Who gives a fuck? Fiat currency is just as good as any other currency as long as it is accepted as an exchange of value. That's the end result. That's it. It's all that matters, okay? If you think gold or something else is better, it's not, okay? They're just different tools to accomplish the same thing. So, yes, we could have these massive things going now if there was a will to do it, but there are no people that are cognizant enough and together enough to pull enough people together to force these kinds of things to happen by changing laws, by enforcing the fucking laws that are on the goddamn books now, okay, and by throwing the fuckers out of fucking office. Simple as that. But in this environment, how can you get anything done? Okay, Bend Over Bernanke says, "What's up, hippie?" Purot Pepe Vasal asked if the doctor walking around knew he was infected. As far as I know, he did know he was infected. He was already given some kind of treatment while he was in while he was either in transit or before he actually came to the United States, as far as I know. So this kind of indicates that there is this super serum that they have in the United States that may cure Ebola, or at least you know, help in the recovery thereof. Yeah, actually, Craig's list notes something that I also wanted to talk about but forgot about, and that was he says, "Did you notice how MH17 just dropped off the media radar?" Yeah, I noticed that, and I'm sure a lot of other people noticed that too, so all of a sudden this is not such a big deal. Of course, it is a tragedy, okay, and it's a terrible thing that these people died, you know, but I don't see much action going on there, so it seems like it turned into a dud. Whatever they planned to have happen there, I think went awry. It went awry, and they're not too, you know, they're not too happy about it. Now, there have been increased sanctions, okay, between the United States and Russia. Russia has imposed their own sanctions on certain foods imported into the country. You know, so this is a back and forth thing. Here's the thing the thing that really worries me about Ukraine is the idea that Russia is a nuclear power. And this is something that you have to remember. The only thing that we really have going in our favor now is the fact that Putin seems to have some kind of restraint. And Obama is just coasting, which, as I've said before, I'm perfectly fine with Obama coasting, because at the end of the day, okay, I'd rather him do nothing than fuck shit up more. That's the bottom line right there. So, all right, let me look over here at Facebook and see who I have for anybody's questions. Haha! Forrest Jackson, my good friend and fellow Francis E. Deck fanatic, wants to know what my cat's name is. Well, some of you know that my dear friend Smokey passed away earlier this year. He was my gray cat. He was all gray except he had a little tiny spot of white, like maybe 5 or 6 hairs, like right here on his chest. It's just kind of funny. But he died earlier this year, which is a real blow to me. But the cat that I still have now, that's Mitira, and that's Greek for mother. That's her name. And let's see what's going on here. Okay, someone, Zane Ivy on Facebook, is mentioning the fact that the Rothschilds have been in China since 1838. and asking me if I think China and the BRICS really isn't just part of a greater readjustment of the system of global management. I don't necessarily think that's the case. I really don't, because the BRICS thing is just limping along. It's not really developing any steam, and there's not a lot of emphasis to push this forward. And so, you know, unless it really starts to get off the floor and starts moving, then it's really not going to be serving any purpose. It's really not going to serve as a you know, bulwark against the Western the Western power structure, the Western economic power structure, I should say. So you know, that's just the way I see it. So, you know, I guess in some future iteration, the BRICS could be the new quote-unquote World Bank, but I'm not one of these people that believes in a coming world government, because corporations need smaller and smaller nations. They need, you know, hundreds and hundreds of nations that they can play against each other. Okay, that's what they need. That's what they want. You know, if you don't offer them a good deal, they go to the next state over. If that one doesn't, no state in the country does, then they go somewhere else. So they don't like paying taxes, they move. That's just the way it works. Okay, so they need those options in order to enhance their bottom line. So the corporate power structure of the world does not want a world government. They want a whole bunch of really small states that their vast multinational companies will be more powerful than. They'll have more wealth, more money, more resources than all of these squabbling small states, and they'll be able to walk all over them. And there won't even be the illusion of democracy or a republican form of government that we supposedly have in the corporate United States of America. So let me have one last look here for questions or comments, and we'll call it a night. Let's see. Tacos Mananeros. Hi, what's your take on having FDR-like program? I agree, gold, silver, staggers are living in a pipe dream. And what's your feelings on Alex Jones, a.k.a. Xlax Jones? Well, I've commented on Alex Jones before, and I'll give you that in a moment. Yeah, of course, I want a new deal. I want a new deal now. What I want is a massive infrastructure program in this country funded by the Federal Reserve, and then institute a Wall Street sales tax at 1% on every fucking transaction, every turnover. That means all of their fucking 100 million motherfucking trades they do every fucking day with their fucking state-of-the-art computer system, every motherfucking one of them trades is going to get taxed at 1%. And I agree with Webster Tarpley, half to the federal government and half to the states. Okay, so that they can fix their debt problems. Now, in any other programs, like his CCC, the WPA, any of those programs, I would gladly welcome to put people to work, to give them a decent wage doing something that needs to be done. I'd rather see the focus be on infrastructure. We could put a massive amount of people to work. A massive amount of people to work. And there's no reason it can't be funded by the Federal Reserve. That's why I say nationalize the fucking thing. Take it over. Would be in charge of a large portion of our national debt at that point. Let's see. What else? That looks like about it. Anything else from Facebook? No. Okay, so that's it for today. I want to thank everybody who stopped by to watch the live event this evening, and of course invite you all who haven't seen it to watch later. It'll be on my channel on YouTube. Thanks everybody for your questions and your comments. And oh, I forgot to tell you about Alex Jones. That'll be the last thing. So Alex Jones, I've commented on Alex Jones before. Okay, I'm going to say this. First place I heard of cognitive infiltration was by who? Alex Jones. Okay. Usually what happens when you have something being rolled out, it's put into place, and then, you know, a couple years, decade later, maybe, whatever, it's revealed as something that they're going to do in the future. But it's already going on. Okay, you understand. So what I believe Alex Jones is he's a cognitive infiltrator. Okay, he may not have started out that way. I don't know what his motivations were before, but it's quite clear that his motivations now are to promote far right-wing, ridiculous fucking bullshit. He talks about the left and the right, and there's no difference between them, but he has glowing words to say about various people in the GOP establishment at various times. The only people he says anything good about in the political arena are far right-wing fanatics. And that's fine if that's his political position, but he can go eat shit as far as I'm concerned. And the other thing that he's interested in is fucking money. It's money. Everything is monetized on his fucking website. He has the store. He's trying to sell you videos so you can watch the fucking show, so you can get this and buy my video on that. I'm Alex Jones. I discovered this shit 98 years ago, before even my fucking grandfather was fucking born. I knew about this. I saw the policy papers when they wrote them. When I wasn't even born yet. I'm Alex Jones. Fuck Alex Jones. The John Birch Society motherfucker who the only thing he fucking cares about is how he can get through the day and cash his fucking check. And the bigger the better as far as he's concerned, because he's just like all the rest of them. Never get enough. Never satisfied. Never satisfied. I don't feel secure with my $20 billion. I don't feel secure in my giant mansion house. I don't feel like I have enough when I have 10 fucking cars. I don't feel like I have enough when I could go down literally to the grocery store and buy the entire thing. No, I don't. I'm not satisfied. I gotta have more. Gotta have more. It's always gotta have more. And God forbid anybody come along and say, hey, how about you share a little bit of that with somebody who's less well off? Okay, but you're right. You can keep whatever you want, But just the idea, of taxing these people more, of reducing all of the benefits that they have, like the carried interest rule for hedge fund managers who make $15 fucking billion a year. No, that's an exaggeration, but not much. I think who was it? Peterson, Paul Peterson or Pete Peterson? I'm not sure. Hedge fund manager. Last time I looked, in 1 year he made $9 billion. And you know how much tax he paid on his $9 billion fucking dollars a year? 15%. And he probably didn't even actually pay that much, but that was the legal requirement, 15%. So, that's it. That's it for Alex Jones. That's it for the show for today. And thank you all for tuning in live. And I'll catch you next time. Thank you. And good night.